Hi, I'm Ken Brooks with Insurance Planning's Loss Control and Safety Department. And I hope you're having a good day. Today we're going to talk about a common workplace safety concern. Across the United States, annually about 70 to 80,000 workplace fires occur. So we're going to talk about that today. With those fires, we usually lose about 200 employees, and then about 500 employees are injured. And then when we're talking about the fire itself, property damage ranges in about the $2 billion mark across the United States every year. And the good news about that is that we can prevent that. And the way we can prevent that is by having a good fire prevention plan and being proactive in protecting your building and your employees. So when we're talking fire, we need to start with the basics. Let's talk about how a fire happens. There's three things you need for a fire: heat, fuel, and oxygen. You take away any one of those and you've put out the fire. The fuel and the oxygen, usually they're around. What it takes is that heat as an ignition source. And we're talking either open flames, we're talking a faulty electrical equipment, we're talking welding in most shops. And so there's a lot of sources of ignition out there. And we'll talk more about what we need to do about that here in just a minute. But let's talk about the five different types of fires, the five classifications. There's A, B, C, D, and K. And when we're talking those, Class A fires are your common combustibles, like wood, paper, cloth, those type of things. Your Class B fires are your flammable liquids, like kerosene, gasoline, anything like that, oil that's going to catch fire. The third thing, Class C fires, are your electrical fires. Now, Class A fires, you're going to be able to put them out using water, but Class B and C, that's not the case. And so we'll talk more about that here in just a minute also. Class D fires are not very common. They're usually under a controlled situation, but they are combustible metals. We're talking magnesium, lithium, things that we don't normally just have laying around with us that are going to just catch fire. All right, and Class K fires, the last one, K stands for kitchen. And what they did was they looked at fires and saw that industrial kitchens burn hotter than any other type of fire. So they put them in their own classification. All right, so those are the types of fires, and that's how fires start, is through the heat, fuel, and oxygen. But how do we prevent them? What do we do? The number one way to prevent fires is good housekeeping. Keep your shop clean. Make sure you've looked at all the ignition sources and you're taking care of it. And that's where your prevention plan comes in. Now, when you're taking care of it, you're going to have, if you've got oily rags in your shop, you're going to have containers you're going to put them in. If you've got any kind of ignition sources that are identifiable, you're going to look at that and say, what can I do to make sure a fire doesn't happen? And if you have any questions about that, and you're not sure how to do that, call me. I'm here to help you, and I'll go through your shop and help you plan to prevent fires. Even with prevention, there's a small chance a fire is going to start, and so we've got to be prepared. And so preparation means making sure that you have extinguishers throughout your building, making sure that you have alarms so that if a fire happens, everybody's going to know. And then make sure those exits are marked clearly. If you have a door that a visitor may not know that it isn't an exit, you need to make sure it's marked, either with not an exit or office or bathroom or whatever it may be, so that when that fire happens, they don't go into a wrong room and get stuck. So make sure you have all of the exits clearly marked with reflective signs. And if you're not sure what to do on that, again, give me a call. All right, and then you also need to make sure that those extinguishers are being checked on a regular basis. Make sure that monthly you're checking and you're making sure that the needle on those dials are in the green. If they're in the red, it means that there's either too little or too much pressure, and you need to have that fire extinguisher checked. And then annually, you do need to have it checked by a professional. Okay, and so you're doing things to prepare. You've put together a plan. You've got good housekeeping. But what do we do when that fire happens? There's two acronyms I want you to remember: RACE and PASS. So RACE is rescue, alarm, contain, and extinguish. So rescue, when you've seen that fire happen, you need to get everybody out of there. You need to get them out of the building, and then alarm, you need to tell everybody as you're heading out, hey, there's a fire, get out of here, get out of here. Contain, as you're leaving a room, make sure you shut that door behind you so that fire doesn't spread as quickly and it can be contained in a certain area. And then extinguish. If you have been trained and you have the time to put out that fire, then extinguish it. And when I say you have the time, most fire extinguishers will last 1 minute. If you have a minute to put out that fire and you can put it out, then go ahead and extinguish it. If not, get out of that building. Don't risk your life. All right, so when you've established that you do have the time to put out that fire and you can do it, you need to remember PASS for the fire extinguisher. So you've grabbed that fire extinguisher, you pulled the pin, you have aimed it at the base of the fire, and then you're going to squeeze and sweep. And you're going to sweep that starting at the base of the fire going up. So that fire extinguisher is going to do two things. It's going to wet it down, so it's going to help put out the fire. It is going to smother it, so it's and the agent in that fire extinguisher is going to cool down the fire and smother it. So you're removing the heat and the oxygen, and you remove both of those, and the fire's out. But remember, the most important part of that is that you have 1 minute. If you can't put that fire out in a minute, you need to get out of there. And so just keep in mind, workplace fires are fairly common throughout the year in the United States, but we can prevent them and we can prepare for them. If you need any help with any of this, go ahead and give me a call and I will be there to help you. Thank you and have a good day.